My priority in the beginning was just being on a trail because I loved it so much. And then as my my life became a little bit more public, it became more important to me to be present. And for the same reason, so that people can see me. They can see me, again, in my blackness and my fatness, that they belong there too.
Welcome to For the Long Run, the podcast exploring the why behind what keeps runners running long, strong, and motivated. I'm your host, Jonathan Levitt. Through personal and professional connections in the running world, I have the privilege of getting to know some amazing athletes. I've always been fascinated by the psychological aspect of running, and this podcast is aimed at exploring this and much more. I hope you enjoy. Have you guys heard of Beam? I have been absolutely loving their products lately. Beam is a CBD company that's making waves in the running world by offering products that combine THC-free CBD with other high-quality ingredients. It was founded by two ex-professional athletes with the idea that everyone should have the chance to experience what better feels like. Whether you're sore or stressed, Beam is key for recovery and self-care. Try it for yourself with 15% off using the code FTLR from beamtlc.com. I recommend Beam Dream Powder or the Focus Capsules. This episode is brought to you by SuperCoffee, the healthy, delicious alternative to sugary coffee drinks. SuperCoffee was recently named the fastest growing food and beverage brand in America by Inc. magazine, and after tasting a bunch of their flavors, I can see why. Their coffees contain zero sugar, and many of them contain 10 grams of plant-based protein. They're growing in popularity in the running community, and I'm excited to share a special discount with you. They offer a 60-day money-back guarantee, meaning if you don't love it, you get your money back, no questions asked. Grab 15% online with the code FTLR or look for them nationwide in 25,000 stores like Target, Whole Foods, Walmart, Kroger, and CVS. Cheers. Welcome back. I have Mirna Valerio joining me on the podcast, fresh down the hill from Frisco, Colorado, here in Boulder. Mirna, thanks so much for taking some time to chat. And your timeliness is perfect.
I'm really impeccable, aren't I? Actually, that's the first time I've ever been on time for something. So I'm really proud of myself.
And you came from I-70, and to get anywhere on time on I-70, as I've learned, is impressive. So well done.
Well, thank you. It takes a lot of luck.
Yes,
and dodging storms.
That's all it is. Yeah. And we are both sitting here in bike gear, as one does in Colorado. I pulled into my driveway on a bike, and Mirna pulled in driving a bike, and here we are.
Yeah.
So before we dive too far into our love of the outdoors and all things nature and all of this, who is Mirna?
Do you want the 45-minute version, the 3-hour version, or the few-second version?
Let's get rolling and see where it goes.
Okay, great.
Somewhere in between.
So again, my name is Mirna Valerio. I'm also known as the Mirnavator on all of my socials. I am an ultra runner who is currently injured and is doing a lot of cycling. I'm in Colorado to train for the Steamboat gravel race. I am originally from New York, Brooklyn, New York, to be very specific, not upstate. And I have
important classification.
Look, very, very important. I don't want anybody to get that mixed up or to get it twisted. Anyway, so I'm a mom. I'm of an 18-year-old who we call GRTB for Gordon Ramsay the Black, and and I do a lot of things. So, as I said, I'm an ultra marathoner. I am a new cyclist. I am a former teacher of 18 years. I am a diversity practitioner, so I do a lot of diversity, equity, and inclusion work with companies and schools. I am a lapsed opera singer, and there's some other things in there that I have forgotten. Oh, I'm an author. I do that too. I have a book called A Beautiful Work in Progress, which still does very well on Amazon. And yeah.
That's a lot.
It's a lot, but I couldn't really live or be happy without all of it.
I feel the same way. So for those who don't follow Mirna on social, she has this aura of a love of life, and everything she does looks fun. So much so that I wanted to cross country ski because I saw how much fun she was
Yay!
having in the woods of Vermont when I was out in Breckenridge.
Mm.
And you influenced me to try skiing for the first time
That
in
is so cool.
20
So
years.
so you know what? You said I influenced you to ski. So let's talk about the word influencer
Yeah.
because it has a really bad rap, right? For like those folks out there on the social media channels that use a lot of filters and stuff like that and like, try to sell things. But I think the real influencers are the people that are so enthusiastic about what they do and they get other people enthusiastic about it as well. And so I am so happy that that happened. Yay!
Yeah, I mean, I see you out there just like having so much fun. And the last couple of podcasts I've done have been with professional athletes who talk about fun as being paramount to either why they're still in the sport or why they continue. Well, I guess that's the same thing, why they continue to be in the sport. Stephanie Garcia and I talked yesterday, and she's basically following her fun meter. And she wasn't having fun with track, and now she's doing trails and OCR.
Because trails are better.
Because trails are better. Aisha Pratlier, for the duration of our conversation, talked about how she's 30 years old and she wouldn't be in the sport without having fun. My coach, David Roche, everything is about fun. It's like dating, fun,
Yes.
running, fun. Fun is paramount. So I love that that's the lens that you live your life around and share with the world.
Yeah, I mean, I love having fun. I love making sure that the things that I do they really fall under my core values, and that I also want to make sure that I'm sharing that with other people because I've gotten a lot from people sharing with me. So yeah, absolutely fun. And everything's not fun all the time. It's not
Right.
always
It's not
like
daisies and unicorns.
rainbows and unicorns and daisies and whatever the euphemism is. And yeah, just like with mountain biking, for example, that's something that I started learning this year. Yesterday when I was trying to mountain bike up this hill, at almost 9,000 feet, that wasn't fun.
That's called type 2 fun.
It wasn't fun in the moment, but once I got at the top of the hill and I was actually warmed up, I was like, okay, now I can do this for another hour. But then it started raining and storming, so and I was really
downhill
disappointed.
Sandwich is fun.
Right. Well, I don't even like that part. But afterwards I'm like, well, yeah, I want to do that again, even though like in the moment it was really difficult. But you always get something out of it, right? You always get like, especially being in Colorado, there are these incredible views of 14ers and 13ers and lakes and stuff. And I was with students last night and that just like filled my heart so much. So there's a lot of things that, are encapsulated in everything that I do, the fun things, the not fun things, the things that give something to me, the things that I learn about myself. There's so many things. And, the more that I can continue living my life like that, the better I'll be.
Perfect. So let's take it back a few years and talk about your start as a runner. You mentioned you're an ultra runner, currently injured, training for a gravel race. Why did you start running?
Well, I actually started running in high school. I was a varsity athlete. I played lacrosse and field hockey. And, that's back when lacrosse was played with wooden sticks. I'm that old. I'm 45 going on 46, y'all. And and I really loved those sports. And I had not considered myself an athlete before playing those sports. And so to get better, I started running because I saw my coaches run all the time. And I said, well, that must be what I need to do to get better at these sports because there's so much running up and down the field and cleats and, mouth guards and sticks and stuff and like having to deal with balls. And so, the first day after field hockey practice, my very first field hockey practice, I started running. And I was in a lot of pain from having had a 3-hour practice and like having had to run 2 miles, like to warm up, which, to me now, like, oh, like a 4-mile warm up, when you're doing 20 miles or something, that sounds normal. But like back then when I hadn't ever run before, it was a lot. And so I started running then and I loved it. It made me a better athlete. I had more energy during the day. And of course I was like 13 or 14. So I didn't have the language to say all of this, but it just made me feel so good. So I continued that all throughout high school. Throughout college, I wasn't allowed to play sports. in college because I'm a musician. So my job was to be in the practice room. But I continued running. I, swam, I rode a bike, stayed pretty fit in my early adulthood. And then I get married. I have a kid 3 years later. And then I'm still pretty active, pretty fit. I'm running, I'm walking, I'm taking my kid to the pool. I go to the pool myself. And then I move to Maryland. Things go awry. It was a very unhealthy environment for me. And then, so a couple years after that, in 2008, I'm driving from one of my gigs, and I think I'm having a heart attack. And I every time I tell this story, it's like it makes me pause because the things had gotten so bad, just sort of emotionally, health wise. Work was going really well. My kid's health was really bad. My health was really bad, and so like, in hindsight, I probably was going to have a heart attack, but it wasn't. It was a panic attack. So I go to the doctors and go to a cardiologist, and the cardiologist tells me that I'm going to die if I don't change my life. So I get back on the treadmill because I hadn't been for 3.5 years. And so I do that. And, it's very cathartic, or like a series of cathartic events where like I realized that I really need to take care of myself. I really need to prioritize myself. So that's when I started running again, 2008. I have not looked back. I went through the whole 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons. One race director says, hey, I want to see you out there doing a 50K. I was like, okay, fine. Because again, that's how we are. Like, that's just the next thing, right? And then I just became like obsessed with that distance. And it also like just gave me all this time to be out on trails. And I've always been an outdoors person, even though I'm from Brooklyn. Like, we had plenty of opportunities to, go to the Adirondacks and, back when schools were good. Um, and to the Catskills. And that's when I really became enamored of the mountains. And so, like training for 50Ks allowed me to do that. And so that's why I am a runner today. Cause like, I love that stuff. That was a really long answer
Very,
to your question.
yeah, appreciate the background. It's always funny. People apologize for talking a lot when they're a guest on a podcast. And I'm like, excuse me, it would be boring if you don't talk a lot. So please continue talking a lot. So you got into 5Ks, 10Ks, marathons, 50Ks, heard that story, been there, done that. Why 50Ks? You mentioned the love of being out on the trails. What was that first 50K like for you?
It was really incredible. It was such an awesome experience. Again, that sort of type 2 fun experience. My mom, stepfather, my kid, and my friend were there supporting me. And they had been there the year before supporting me at my first trail marathon after I had done a couple of road marathons. And it was just so cool to have them like participate in that epic moment in my life. Because I knew that I could do the marathon. I knew it was hard, but I knew that being on a trail or doing long distance on the trail wasn't as painful and was a little bit more enjoyable than
Nicer
doing
views.
it right. Nicer views. I mean, and also like you're not on pavement. So, and I also think they're better people.
I might agree.
Not all hashtag not all people. Okay.
Right.
Are,
Agreed.
mean road runners. But anyway, it was at an event that I had volunteered for many times. And so, and I knew I could do it. I knew the body could do it, but I knew there would be a mental challenge. And that was the thing that was very compelling to me. So, after mile 26, I was really tired. My legs hurt. My feet hurt. My feet hurt so much. But I knew that I had to finish. I knew that I couldn't stop. And but there were all these like awesome people out on the trail. There was this whole crew of Navy people who were in like yellow Navy singlets. I think that's their color. And they were out there. I think some of them were doing 50 miles or 100 miles or 100K. And every time they passed me, because they looped me all the time, they would say, "You got it, girl. Just all right, keep going. Don't stop." And that was it. That sort of encouragement, that external motivation, even though I had my own internal motivation, was really helpful. And then I finished, and I felt so good. Like I forgot all my pain. I really did.
Type 2 fun.
I mean, you know how it is. You forget all your pain, and you're like,
I'm going to do it again.
I want to do this again. Exactly. And so after that, I was just looking for 50Ks, and I actually didn't do another 50K until 2014 because I was moving, and Yeah, there's something about that distance that I really love. It's just over a marathon, and I love marathons, and it's just enough to kind of push you over the edge, but not too much.
Do you think you'll go further?
I mean, I've done 100K. I did a Javelina 100,
Talk about fun.
100K.
That place looks like a party
It's a party when,
when you're in the aid
like,
station.
before and after, and then at the one aid station, Jackass Junction, which is in the middle. And it's a party after you've had your broth and your ginger and and you're alive again,
You're vitalized.
But that was an incredible event. But I think actually I've been doing a lot of thinking over the last year and a half. I think we all have been thinking a lot about things and what our priorities are. I think I want to stick to 50Ks, maybe go up to 45, 40 miles or whatever. Maybe do one 50-miler and be done. But like, I love 50Ks. I'm just going to do what makes me happy.
That is the best way to do it. I had a conversation with Devin Yanko a couple of years ago, and this is the second time I've talked about this conversation today.
I love her.
She is fantastic. So this was 2017. I just had a terrible Boston Marathon, and I had no clue what to do from a training perspective. And I asked her this question because I knew she had specialty from the half marathon to the 100-miler. And I was like, what do I do? She's like, just do whatever is fun, and then do it till it's not fun anymore, and then do something else, and then do something else, and then do something else. And it's like very simple, but it makes sense. And it's like, we don't need to do things that aren't fun from a race perspective because nobody is telling us to.
Exactly.
Unless they are, in which case.
There's that.
There is that. Yeah. That is a part of your job too, I guess. So talk to me about so you're out here in Colorado, you're working with the town of Frisco, you've got a lot of other things going on. Talk to me about a day in the life. How do you do what you do?
Well, every day is different. For example, we mentioned the town of Frisco. I just had a little travel job with them to be a social media influencer and guest of the town to get people to come and visit the town of Frisco. And so they set me up with a bunch of adventures. I'll write about them for my website and for their own blog. And and just to kind of draw people in because, I do have a lot of followers. I mean, I think it's only considered micro influencer because I don't have 1 million followers. That's okay. I don't care. I don't actually want 1 million followers. But I get to do really cool things like that. So that was, the last 2 days. This morning, part of my job was going to a restaurant, eating at it, making sure I took pictures. And later on, I'll put up an Instagram post about my experience. I also went on a bike ride with an employee of the town of Frisco. That was very difficult at 9,000 feet of altitude rather. I don't know how much vert we did. Probably not that much. I just couldn't breathe. So that could be one day. Another day could be I'm doing a photo shoot for my bike sponsor, Salsa. That happened about a week and a half ago. And then I ended up at urgent care with getting 8 stitches in my leg because I fell. But, that's another part of being an athlete, getting injured and having little accidents and stuff. Another day I might be working on my novel. I'm working on a novel, by the way, that's due by the end of next week. That due date will come and go. Because I've been so busy.
I won't tell.
Right. Yeah, you won't tell anyone.
If you're listening, don't tell.
How many downloads have you?
Only 3,000, 4,000 people will know that.
Okay, that's cool. Just don't tell my agent, y'all. And, another day I might be doing stuff with my son. And back in Vermont, I live in Vermont. My son is home right now, like living the life, practicing adulting, right? And another day I might be doing some work, having some calls with one of my partners or my sponsors. So every day is different. It's an incredible lifestyle. It's also really overwhelming. I've definitely had moments of a lot of anxiety, like overwhelming anxiety. And, then I forgot. Yeah, I also have to train. I gotta do
There's
that.
the athletics and sports and stuff on top of that.
I mean, that's why I get to do what I do. I still am running, but not as much as I want to or need to, because as my foot is healing from whatever is wrong with my foot. But like the other weekend I was at Hard Rock crewing my coach, and that was an incredible experience. Just like watching him just grind it out at 60 years old, doing his fifth hard rock. And I'm, like it's cool to see that he's still doing his stuff. He's still got it.
Isn't it gorgeous out there?
First of all, like I've been sleeping on Silverton.
Yeah.
It is incredible out there. It is just absolutely, I mean, like you are surrounded by these peaks, and then I don't even have the words.
So that canvas right
look at
there
that.
is right outside of Ouray. And
Can we talk about Ouray?
we can talk
Can
about
we talk
Ouray.
about the $1 Million Highway?
Hip
Can
Ouray.
we talk about that
No
highway
edge?
with no
No
edge?
So like 8 people die every year there because there's no
Yeah.
guardrail.
There's no guardrail.
Do you know
yeah.
why there's no guardrail?
Because of the avalanches, so that they can push the snow out. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. All right.
Actually, it's
I just got schooled.
driving on it at night is less scary because you can't
see. That was
You
my
can't see the
experience in the
drop-offs,
Grand Canyon, coming down the little hill there.
Yeah, you can't see. And so like I wasn't even nervous. I wasn't anxious. In the daytime, I felt like I was gonna pass out. And I'm a pretty good driver. I'm a very confident driver. I have a really nice car, Ford Bronco Sport, by the way, just in case you didn't know.
That was a good little ad in there.
Thank you. I'm learning. And but it is, I'm not gonna say drop dead gorgeous.
It's drop dead gorgeous.
It is literally drop dead gorgeous. It's stunning. And even in, I think Ouray was like maybe one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. I've been to a lot of places. I'm very well traveled and stuff. And
Did you do the perimeter trail?
I did not. My job when I was over there was crewing. That was all I was going to do. I also bought a lot of books while I was waiting for him to finish. But that part of Colorado is really incredible. And I keep saying incredible, but like, it's unbelievably.
It doesn't look real.
No, it doesn't at all.
The way that town is like tucked into is the only way to describe it. And I was there in February, and I'm very excited to see it in the summer and blooming and
so
hopefully kind of green.
Did you drive on that road in the winter?
Yeah. So I took that road to get to. There's a cross country track just north or
nope
high up from. Yeah, I know, right? So we were out there. I mean, we were in Subarus, and as one does in Colorado, apparently. And I was on the inside of the road going out of town.
Right.
So on the other lane.
Oh my goodness.
Both ways, in both directions. But
wow.
Yeah, heading back out there on Sunday for a week for Ouray 100, which is apparently the hardest race in the country.
I thought Hard Rock was hard, but like
there's 10,000 feet of gain in that one.
Well, there's 10,000 feet in
another 10,000 feet.
So there's 43,000.
40,000 feet of gain.
That is.
But more importantly, there's 43,000 feet of loss.
That's ridiculous.
So we'll see.
I mean, like just like burn out your quads.
Yeah, I'm crewing my friend Kelly, and we'll see how she does.
Good luck, Kelly.
Good luck, Kelly is right.
Much luck and love to you. More power to you.
This podcast will be out after Kelly crushes the Ouray 100.
Yes. You go.
Thanks again to Beam for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. As the days start to warm up and get longer, a cool down routine in the evening becomes even more important. Did you know that you can get a subscription to Beam's Dream Powder? It's what I use most nights before bed to help with a refreshing night's sleep. When you subscribe, you'll get the Dream Blend with a bunch of perks like even better pricing, free shipping, a free mug, and a drink frother just for signing up. Dream helps me wind down at night, and it's made with compounds like melatonin and magnesium that support a better night's sleep. Make sure to use the code FTLR at checkout for an extra 15% off the already discounted 20% off monthly rate. Thanks again to SuperCoffee for supporting this episode. I have been loving their French vanilla and hazelnut flavors and the cold brew cans. SuperCoffee combines the caffeine from 2 cups of coffee with protein and healthy fats to give you hours of focused energy with no jitters or crash. I love it as a strong start to the day. Receive 15% off of your purchase at drinksupercoffee.com/FTLR or use the code FTLR at checkout. I recommend trying one of their variety packs or bundles. If you give it a try, let me know what you think. And now back to our conversation. So let's talk about something you mentioned that resonated with me quite a lot, which is the experience of feeling overwhelmed at times with everything that you're doing. I only have one speed, and it's as Charlie Sheen said, go. I think it was Charlie Sheen that said that. I think somebody else said
I
that.
don't pay much attention to Charlie Sheen.
I forget who said that. Maybe it wasn't him. But anyway, one speed, it's go. And I find it really hard to turn that off and like recharge. So I just go until I burn out. And then it's a forced recharge. And then I do it again. So I'm curious,
That sounds like me.
Does that sound, yeah, okay. So maybe I won't ask, how do you deal with it? Because it seems like we're taking this on in the same way.
Well, but I've been trying very diligently to be better at that. I do, like, just a couple of months ago, then when I was at the doctor, she diagnosed me with severe anxiety. And I was like, what? And then I was like, oh yeah, well, yeah, I know. And she's like, and it's the same thing from like 2008. Like I had all these things going on. I have a lot of different things that I can do, that I do well. And I'm always being pulled in many, many, many different directions. And I will just do it all until I can't anymore.
And never say no.
Yeah. And in the last, week, I've been saying no to stuff.
That's new.
I'm learning. But yeah, and then I'll just burn and crash, or crash and burn. And then I start dropping the ball. That's what happens. And then I'll have to take a step back and cancel things and, disappoint people. And so that's really, really hard for me to do. And it's just because it just gives me more anxiety. And so I've been trying to be proactive about that in my life and schedule and time. I have a business manager who is helping me with that, scheduling downtime. Or yelling at me when she sees me put something on a calendar that I'm not, because I'm not supposed to touch my calendar, right? So, but sometimes
that's
like, oh yeah,
you're paying her.
Do it. Yes. So I do struggle. I struggle mightily with overwhelm. But like when I do crash and burn, that's when I realize that I can't do everything. And I find myself often asking for grace and patience so that I can get things done.
Makes sense. It's something that many of us need to work on. And when I got to Colorado in June, I ran every single run with a friend for an entire week. I had 5 of 7 dinners with friends for an entire week. And on my first long run, I just crashed at mile 7. I was running with a friend. She goes, I saw you cross the threshold. And we turned a corner. I stopped to walk, turned a corner, and I see a pile of poop. I was like, that's me. I feel like that right now.
Sometimes signs come along.
Yeah. Yeah. Or horses.
Right.
And she was like, it's a sign. She's like, you can't just go and expect. And I was like, it's the altitude. It's the this. It's the. And I was making every excuse under the sun, but not addressing the fact that like stress is stress and it all builds up, as fun as it is. And so I think it's a good reminder for myself, yourself, or anyone who's listening, who like is as extroverted as you can be at times. Like you still need that taper time, and then do it again.
Yeah. And here's the funny thing. The funny thing is that I'm 100% an introvert.
You're an introvert?
I am. I'm a performing artist. I turn it on. But then I don't often have opportunities to turn it off. And that's what is a big problem for me. I know I can be very extroverted because I have to for work. But then I don't want to see anybody, hear it. Don't talk to me. Don't touch me. I need to be in a dark room looking at a corner. Peopling takes a lot out of me. I mean, it's my job, right? And I think I do it pretty well, but it's my preference is to be in my room reading. But I know that I'm good at it. So I do it. One of my former sponsors used to say that, you would see Mirna, she'd be up on stage, she'd do her speech, she'd be very gracious with people, and then she would disappear. And I knew she was in her hotel room, probably just reading, because
that's how you recharge.
That was enough peopling for the night. Because otherwise, being a public person, you'll be in front of people all the time. And that's not healthy for me. So I definitely need that.
So how do you reconcile that with all the opportunities you have and the things you want to do and the...
That's a good question. But yeah, that's a good question, because the funny thing is that this month and a half that I'm in Colorado, that was my opportunity to dig down, train, finish that novel. See a couple of friends, fine, because I have lots and lots and lots of people that I know here, both in Boulder and Golden, all over Colorado. But I haven't been really alone, except for 2 nights. So next week I have like an LL Bean shoot. They're coming out here to do a shoot with me because I'm not in Vermont, so they came out here. And some other things, and then I'm in Steamboat. So I'm trying to say no or just go and have coffee or not like a whole dinner or so that's really hard because I do like people. I like my friends. I do want to give of myself because people have given me so much, but then there's a point where I have to just kind of like back out and just hide. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, I'm shocked about the introvert versus extrovert. Talk to me about balance. What does balance mean to you?
No, there is no balance. There isn't. And I can't remember who said it or who started saying this, but a lot of times, for example, like women were asked, how do you balance, you're raising kids and working and doing this and that. And I'm like, there is no balance, like you just do things. I probably should have some balance. I don't know how to do it. That's never been a part of like my culture, my family culture. It's always go, 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 go until you crash and burn. I'm trying to find it. I probably need some help. I probably need some direction with how to be a little bit more balanced in my life. Yeah, no, I need a therapist. And I'm looking for one. I've been looking for one for months. Yeah, that's a good question. I have no answer for you.
Well, no, I think that is a good answer. I asked this question to Mary Johnson, and her answer was basically it's less about balance and more about seasons of life. And so sometimes the priorities shift towards X,
Yes.
and sometimes it's Y, and sometimes it's Z.
Mary is wise.
Yes, and Lindsay Krause described it as a triangle.
Yeah.
And she said sometimes the triangle is equilateral. Sometimes it shifts one way. Sometimes it's obtuse, acute, etc. But you can't just keep going in one direction forever. Otherwise, the triangle collapses. It's the same thing with life.
Yeah, and I would say that's a really, really good way to put it.
She's really good with words.
Yeah, well, I guess the New York Times thinks so, right? But for example, with myself being injured and having to look for other ways to train. So I couldn't really run for almost a year. So I had to like look into cycling. And then out of cycling came other things. Then I started skiing. And that actually, in terms of balance, that's exactly what I needed. I needed to not be running so that I could explore these other amazing sports that took me a long time to acknowledge that I really liked because I love running so much. And trail running is a part of my identity. It's how I make money, And so yeah, I like that. I like the idea of the triangle. And I also love the idea of seasons. But my seasons are all mixed up. And so I have to actually work on delineating the seasons.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Switching gears a little bit.
Yeah.
I had Rajpal Panu on the podcast a couple of months ago, and he's a first generation American Indian. And he says, I feel it's important for me to be at races because I'm the only one often that looks the way I do. And I want people to see me there and know that they can do it too. What is your experience in regards to trail running or skiing or mountain biking?
Yeah, well, so when I started like seriously trail running, I did it because I love trail running, right? Like I've always been aware of my Blackness, of my fatness, of my gender. I've always been aware, like hyper aware, because I've had to be my entire life. And so, but my priority in the beginning was just being on a trail because I loved it so much. And then as my sort of like my life became a little bit more public, it became more important to me to be present. And for the same reason. So people can see me. They can see me again in my Blackness and my fatness, that they belong there too. There's no mystery to it. It's not hard for me to just kind of step into a space because I always feel entitled, but I know that other people don't, right? So by me being present, by me, being at a race or being at some sort of event, that sends a signal to people. I know that for a fact that when I was at Trans Rockies that first year, people saw my Instagram posts. Oh, maybe I can do that. Maybe it's not so bad.
What does that mean to you?
It means a whole hell of a lot. that simply by showing up to something, that can mean something to someone else. That
Change
could
their
be,
life,
yeah,
but then
that
they
can
could find trail running because
exactly.
of that.
Yeah, that can be the catalyst for them to, oh, well, maybe I'll sign up for that race. Or maybe I'll try to go run outside you know, for the first time, in public. That is incredible. That, talking about influencing people,
Yeah.
that's the way that I like to influence people. I was in Frisco over the past couple of days, and it's a very white town, just like most of Colorado is, except for that one part of Denver. And so if people see me there having a good time, which I had an amazing time, maybe they might think differently. Maybe they might say, hey, you know what? Well, I think I might want to travel to that town too and see what it's all about, because it looks incredible, because that can add something to my life, right? And it also adds something to the town as well.
Totally.
So that's pretty cool. I love that is a part of what I do professionally now. I get to lead the way and bring more people in. And I was talking about this to the group of girls with this program called the Cycle Effect last night. I was like, by you being present here, by you trying mountain biking, even though like it's not something that maybe your family culture engages in, people are watching. People are watching all the time. They're looking to see what you do. They're looking to see how you do. They're looking to see your reaction, because you have piqued their interest. You have piqued their curiosity. And it's really, really important, like, just again, to show up.
I love that. If you had gone back even 10 years, maybe 15 years, and saw yourself today doing all of these adventurous things, okay, go further back than 2008,
Mm-hmm.
go to 2000.
What was I doing in 2000?
Was that?
What was I doing in 2000?
Countdown to 2000. Is our
2K.
Are our electronics still going to work? Is my microwave going to explode when it hits midnight?
Mm-hmm.
What would Mirna of 2021 say to that Mirna about how far you've come and the things you're doing?
Wow. If 2000 Myrna was wise, she would say that everything you are doing now matters, and it will propel you to be doing the things that you are doing. I don't even know what year this is. 2021. Right?
2020 plus
because
one.
I remember what I was doing, exactly what I was doing in 2000. I'm a classically trained singer, right? And so I was studying. I graduated from college 3 years before, from Oberlin Conservatory of Music, and I was still studying. I was still auditioning. I was working corporate America, and kind of like, I wouldn't say lost, but like just kind of sort of exploring what it is that I really wanted to do long term. And but I think that Myrna would be really surprised and stunned that it was running that was the thing that propelled me so far. I don't consider myself to be a good runner. I mean, I can run for long. I can run all day.
That's
Slowly,
a trait that
slowly.
counts as a good runner.
I think she would have probably thought that it would be music and that it would be opera that would have propelled me onto like a public stage. But it did help me. The Myrna of now looks back and sees like that is exactly what has prepared me for being able to be a speaker, being a public persona, being gracious with people, and then like having all of these incredible opportunities that I have to live the life that I do.
Love that. I want to go back to something you said, the power of showing up. I think that it's no secret that the secret to anything is consistency. And so I just want to reiterate that important aspect of, because you're showing up, other people can show up. And because you're showing up every day, you can hit that 50K finish line. And what does that mean to you? And let's use the words of Des Linden, keep showing up. What does keep showing up mean to you?
Keep showing up. But there are definitely days when I don't want to be doing this. I don't think I've ever said that publicly, where like I would just want to be in a classroom with kids. But I know the power of me being in a space that others feel that they're not welcome in. I know how much that means to me personally. And so that in itself, both internally and externally, motivates me to keep doing what I'm doing, to keep being in conversation with companies in the industry, to keep training. Even when I don't want to, even when I'm so tired, even when like there are other things that I could be doing or that I think I should be doing, even when like, I mean, training is hard. It's hard. I'm tired all the time. I'm so tired all the time, and that's not good. I need to take care of that. We talked about balance and we talked about anxiety and stuff like that. So, like, that's something I'm working on. But there is incredible power in, just kind of stepping into things on a daily basis, no matter how I'm feeling, no matter what people think I should be doing, because then that actually allows others to envision themselves showing up for themselves as well.
Very cool. When you don't want to show up for yourself, what do you do
I do a lot of self talk. I talk to myself so much.
in terms of positive, like
Um,
affirmation?
well, no, not necessarily. I'm not one of those people, but I'm pretty tough on myself. There are days when I'm like, I don't have it in me to show up, and that's okay because I show up most of the time, right? I don't think I
C's get
need,
degrees.
right. So, but I do, I think for me, it's really important that I have a community around me that, when I need a little lifting up or I need a little help showing up, both for myself and for other people, they do it. They help me. And I've never, like, it's been in the last 2 years that I've really, really sometimes depended on other people to help me. And, you know, I don't know. That's what happens when I don't feel like showing up. Again, like sometimes I'm just too tired, and I give myself permission to take a rest. It doesn't happen very often, but I think we all need to give ourselves permission to have a couple of off days.
Yes.
Yeah.
Scheduled or unscheduled.
Yes. I mean, off days, I mean, like, I'm feeling off.
Yes, absolutely.
and I have to be okay with it, right?
Yeah. Switching gears to a question that I've been asking and have been loving the answers to lately, which have been of all sorts of varieties. What does success mean to you?
Success for me is doing things that will change the world, whether it's in small ways, like whether it's like micro changes or macro changes. And I think that's a great question because it definitely filters into my core values, which are joy, adventure, community, learning, and inclusion, right? And so if I'm not doing those things, if I'm not spreading joy, if I'm not making sure that people feel included and loved and like they belong, if I'm not having adventure or bringing adventure to people, if I am not learning, at my middle age of 45 years old, almost 46, if I'm not doing any of those things, I'm not really living and I'm not really giving back. So success for me is incorporating all of those things into what I do and giving back to all of the communities and paying it forward to all of the communities that have lifted me up.
That's a fantastic answer. I love that. You mentioned initially whether it's one person or lots of people. There's a Jewish idiom that says, save one life, save a world entire. And I was having this similar conversation with Joe Holder about the magnitude of impact that he has with his huge platform.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I don't care if I help one person and I can help change one person's life, I win. And I always try and remind people of that like it doesn't need to be 100,000 lives that you change. The magnitude of impact that just one person trying skiing
Mm-hmm.
or going out for their first run or whatever it might be, we'll never know the magnitude of
Right.
impact that it has for that person.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's the way that when I do my diversity work, when I facilitate a workshop, if I have inspired or moved one person to think differently, to react differently in a situation, I've done my job.
Awesome. Love it. On a lighter subject, what is something that you wish people knew about you?
Wow, I don't know. I
Curveball.
feel like people know so much about me already. It's a hard question. That I like warm Coke.
What?
I do. I like warm
At
Coke.
least you didn't say warm Pepsi.
Because Pepsi is disgusting. Even though my entire family used to work for Pepsi, back when Pepsi was good.
Was Pepsi ever good?
Well, I mean, there
Like,
was
I'm
that
never
one
gonna get
time in the
sponsored by
80s,
Pepsi on
early
that.
80s, when it actually tasted like something. Um, you know what? I think a lot of people don't know that I'm a very serious musician. I feel like I need to do more of that, like in a bigger way.
How did you get into that?
High school, my whole family is musical. My brother he's actually a music producer and down in Arizona. and he does a lot of the music for my videos. We were just a musical family, and so I went to actually in high school. I went to a very arts focused high school, boarding school up in Westchester County, New York, called the Master School, which I'm now on the board of. And then while I was at high school, I also attended Juilliard pre-college as a voice major. And then I went to Oberlin Conservatory of Music for undergrad. And, it's a very big part of my identity that I don't always share with people because there's a lot of expectations that come with, being a musician. But I think now I don't share it enough. And it's like I want to sing more, and I already have a public platform, so I don't need to be famous for singing, but I'd just like to do it more because
Enjoy it.
it's who I am.
Cool. You talked about identity. I've had this discussion in regards to someone identifying as a runner or a human who runs. Talk to me about what identity means to you.
So again, when I'm doing my diversity workshops, that's a huge part of what I talk about identity. It's what makes you who you are. How you filter the world, how you see the world, how you experience the world, how others experience you. I feel like trail running is a part of my identity. Like that's how people know me. Not everybody knows me as a trail runner. Some people, like from my earlier life, who aren't on social media a lot, don't even know that I have this whole other career. They see me as Mirna the singer or Mirna the teacher. But it's very, very interesting because when I actually met a couple of friends in Golden last week, and they were old friends, and then I have my new friends with me, my newer friends from the last couple of years, and they said, "Have you ever heard her sing?"
And they're like, what?
And like, no, wait, I mean, like, we knew you were like a singer, like all that stuff, but we never like really heard you sing. And they were like, yeah, you should. And it reminded me that's a huge part of who I am, how I see the world, how I experience the world, how I hear the world, how I interact with people. And I feel like it's kind of like I've tamped it down a little bit. And
Intentionally, or just it's gone by the wayside?
intentionally.
How come?
I have to answer this question because it's again, like there are a lot of sort of expectations placed on musicians, and for some reason I've been running away from my musical identity for a long time because I just don't want anybody to ask me to I don't know. I actually don't know why. I don't know why, but all I know now is that I want to do more of it.
Are you going to think about that as you
I'm,
drive away?
I am going to think about it, and then I'm going to call you and say, here's the answer to that question that I was so not eloquent about.
No, but we're all a work in progress,
yeah,
and we all
yeah.
have these parts of ourselves that
Yeah.
ebb and flow, and
that we don't always share with
that we don't
people.
always share. Like for me, it was cycling. Like,
Mhm.
so my dad's been biking for, he's 60, he's going to be 61. He's probably been biking for 57 years.
Oh man. Wow.
And as soon as I could, I was on a bike. And as soon as I got my license, I stopped biking. And I stopped biking pretty seriously through, I don't know, it was 23, 24 by the time I was like, I'm going to do this again. I don't know what the age was, but it was at least like 5 years. And now there are 3 bikes in my garage, and like I'm wearing bike clothes right now, and I love it so much. And my watch is beeping because it wants to save this gravel ride I just went on. And it's just wild how like sometimes things come into your life when you need it, and then they go out, and then they come back, and it's just like seasons, right?
Yeah, you know what? That's true. And actually, over the past 15 months, I've been studying again, and it was studying voice lessons with a teacher out in California. It was the thing that I needed. It was that sort of creative spirit and energy that I needed to actually get through my day, and then helped me not become even more overwhelmed and anxious than I already was.
Love it.
So.
I could go on for hours. We could go for bike rides and runs and all of this hikes. We should probably go hike Chautauqua or something like that. But if people want to follow you and your adventures and they don't already, where can we find you?
I am always present on Instagram as at the Mirnovator. Sometimes I'm on Twitter. That's my like more irreverent space. But I'm also, if you are still on Facebook, I'm also still on Facebook. So you can find me on Facebook, Mirna. Valerio dash the Mirnovator or Fat Girl Running, one word.
And if you need enjoyment in your day, watch Mirna do sports.
All of them. All of them.
Literally all of them. Mirna, thanks so much for driving down from Frisco and nailing the timing so perfectly and sharing all parts of yourself with us here today.
Well, thank you so much.
Of course.
Enjoyed our conversation.
Likewise. That's it for today's episode. Like many long runs, it's sad when it has to end. I hope you join in next time on For the Long Run. And in the meantime, happy trails. If you enjoyed this episode, it would mean a lot to me if you shared it so that others can find it and enjoy it too. This podcast and the accompanying music has been produced by Brian Walters of Single Track Sound. For the Long Run's logo was created by Vanessa Wolf of Sterling Wolf.